All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jesus. Back again with another video. This time I'm going to be talking about a raisin in the sun, and we're going to do a little. I'm going to do a little discussion about it. Um, just talking about my thoughts and feelings and opinions about this and revelations. So let's get started. Sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right. So I have my little list here, and I think I'm just going to run through it. So the first question is, what are my thoughts? And my thoughts were that I really enjoyed it. I felt very invested in the characters as I was reading. I just felt like I was there. I felt very immersed, and the way the author writes, Lorraine Hansberry, I'm gonna say it's Hansberry. Um, just made the play so far seem so real. Um, and I'm wondering if like part of it comes from like stereotypes, from like stereotyping people. That's why like we get a good image of them, or like a very seamless image. At least I do. I feel like I don't know. And in my head, I play. I know this is supposed to be a lot more dramatic because I listened to like audio of this, and I even saw like some um, movie renditions of this play, and they seem very dramatic. But in my head, like it's kind of dramatic at some points, but at some point, I kind of like in my head I play it lightheartedly, like when they tease each other and things like that. I don't think it's that serious, but in when I watch it over or I listen to the audio, it seems very like dramatic. Like they're very like they're not teasing. They're actually like throwing jabs at each other. But I don't know. Um, I'm probably gonna keep playing it the way I played in my head, but who knows what. And I guess that's the thing about writing, right? Or like just any works of art is just like how the person takes it in. So that's how I've been taking it in. I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, the way the author writes, just it just seems so real, and I am wondering if that's from the stereotypes. But regardless, I felt very immersed and appreciative of her writing style, especially when things got deep. Because, like I said, like and from one moment it's just very nice, funny, lighthearted, like loving, and then it gets like very deep, and you just feel that immediately. At least I do, and that's just how I felt about the play so far. What stands out to you? What stands out to me, well, first and foremost, is just blackness, right? Blackness, and then second to that is women, and I guess I should add men as well. Black women, men and women, probably even children, but that's a little different. It's not as like anyway. It's not as like not important, but not as like significant, I guess, as which means the same thing as men and women. Um, yeah, I just feel like they are more on the forefront. Children grow into it, sort of. Okay, so the other thing that stood out to me are just the age differences, the generational differences, but also the similarities. So like let me go back. Let me talk about why blackness stands out to me, and it's just because obviously like we're talking about a black family and Southside Chicago, like a post-slavery era, still dealing from the repercussions of slavery, and black people just finding their way in the world and finding what that means, and sort of like men and women trying to define their roles in the world, I guess, or like what they have to offer, what life means to them, and just figuring out their roles in the world, basically. Especially for women. That's why I gave women like a its own little like category, because women like had it even harder back then. So I feel like it was a major struggle for them more so than men back then. But men also like had to figure it out. Like they hadn't even figured out what masculinity is. Like like they were still dealing with all of that. So then I say age differences because, and then generational differences because obviously we see the differences of mom, Ms. Lena, I'm gonna say, or Mama, between her and her kids and just the next generations and what she symbolizes. And there are differences, but there are also similarities or parallels. and many other things that they're facing. And she was just like one step in the process of their liberation, sort of, or their coming to be. So I feel like that was very important. That stood out to me. Another thing that stood out to me is America, as a country, like now and during that time as well, and just like how they had been um, developing during that time, and like realizing how far we've come now. And maybe some might say it's not far enough, but it's not. Like there's still a long way to go, but there has been progress made, a lot of progress. And our like mere like who knows, maybe our mere existence is thanks to like things that happened back then, like the civil rights movement. And maybe not existence, but our being here and being able to do what we do on a daily basis, like is thanks to that. So that's pretty big. And then America, yeah, it's just interesting to see how a country bounces back from something so like so bad as slavery. Like um yeah. Blackness in America and the world. Yeah, I think I kind of covered that. Like that was just in America, right? Like when I wonder like what it was like to be a black person on other parts of the world, like not just America. Like was it the same as it is in America, or was it a little different? Um, yeah, those are some things that I wouldn't think about. All right, some more things. Okay, coming back to this, opportunity, chance, the by design factor. And yeah, I guess what I kind of mean by this is just like um, black people and minorities, I guess, at the time, trying to like find opportunities and taking chances or looking for chances to take on something. And by the design factor, I just mean how like these things are by design, sort of like like we wouldn't learn how to do something had we not gone through something so terrible. Like things are by design, like are built by design. Like things will be okay eventually. It just takes learning, and then learning. You gotta make mistakes to learn, right? So you gotta make a mistake, and then you gotta learn from it, and you gotta apply what you learn, and then you move on. And if something needs to be changed again, then the cycle repeats. So I feel like that was what they were going through. They were like they dealt with slavery, which was a big mistake, and just like terrible. And then they move on. Like people revolt, people are like resisting against that or speaking out against that, and then um, hopefully policy changes, and then they have some policy implemented, and then they determine if it's right or wrong, and then the cycle repeats. Okay, so the by design factor, I call it. An individual is a progression of and building of a nation, the history of a nation, and it just made me think a lot about the civil rights movement, because that was really big at the time. And it made me think a lot about the Vietnam War, because during that time as well, um, like James Baldwin wrote in one of the things that I read before the text is that like they were on the forefronts of the war, but they were still being treated with like discrimination, even though they were fighting for the same country. Like it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy to think about. Yeah, that time was crazy. It was a time to be alive. Like if today was a time to be alive, like back then it was a time to be alive. It's pretty nuts, but pretty incredible at the same time. It was just so much going on, and today I think we're getting to a point like that again. It feels like. Okay, any beautiful, powerful, significant lines you want to share and discuss? I have a lot here, but I'll just kind of run through them. The first one is towards the beginning. Why, when I think Ruth asked Walter, "Why you always gotta smoke before you eat in the morning?" And that's just, I think, just a little like indicative of people who smoke are usually stressed about something, and they it's just like a habit they have to do to like get through the day. And so like I feel like that was a little indicative of like the struggles they went through, like Walter like just trying to cope with life. And I guess it just felt very heavy for him, and I'm like assuming for everybody else as well. Then shortly after, Walter responds, I thought it was kind of nice when he says that you look young this morning, baby. He said, "You look young this morning, baby." I thought that was kind of funny but nice, and but yeah, also a little sad. Like they're probably not actually old, but it's just stress, I guess. And in the times that creates that stress. So another line, check coming tomorrow, huh? That was kind of funny, but yeah, money problems. It creates excitement. It just a piece of paper brings so much excitement to our lives and brings things to our lives. So can't blame the kid, I guess. He's just excited. It means something for him. Um, I like when he said "I'm gone." Like I'm not sure if that was like slang for him, like leaving for people when they were leaving. When Ruth and him were having their exchange, and he's like, "I'm gone." And then another big one was when the exchange that Walter and Ruth were having. I thought that was like, whoa, that was pretty. Whew. I didn't want this video to be so long, but I'm sorry. Okay, Walter says, "I got me a dream," and he's like, I'm sure he says like, "I got me a dream," and Ruth is like, "Eat your eggs," like just save it. We don't want to hear it. Which is sad, like you can feel Walter is very passionate about, about everything he says and like I believes in. And he just wants to be like the man, like he just wants to be like, just like have his place in the world. Like he just wants to be somebody, and you can just feel he's very passionate about it. And Ruth is just like, which is funny, but she's just they should be supportive of each other. They should cooperate instead of like fussing. But it's understandable. Another one again. Speaking of that, is when Walter and Benita at the same time finish their sentence and to be a doctor. Benita wants to be a doctor, and yeah, like okay, but it's her dreams. Like why can't she do that? And they're just all trying to find their place in the world. Like they're liberated. They are in America now. What do we do? We're in the North. I'm assuming. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. But like, what do we do now? We build. Nobody is ever going to understand me. Oh, yeah, and that's Walter again. Honey, please go to work. We've all got acute ghettoitis. I talked about that in my discussion. As I was saying that, as I was reading that, I think, when I was reading the story, the play, a firework popped off, and I was like, ugh. I was like, can't relate. But yeah, it's just like some, just things of the ghetto, symptoms of the ghetto, symptoms of it's systematic, the things we have to deal with. Like it's not really our problem; it's a much bigger problem. But some of us really think, take it personally and think of it as a problem that we created, or But most of the time, it's something systematic. It's bigger than us. So. $10,000. Thought that was a very big line when it just was very sad. When Mama says that she has a check, she opens it and she's like 10,000. She's just thinking about it and she just goes to a dark place, I guess, and she's like, "That's all they give you." I'm thinking like, for what did they give that for? Like, what are they compensating her for? But maybe we'll find out later. I don't know. Would it have to do with something with the death of dad? Or it would have to do with like something to do with slavery or some settlement, some lawsuit. I don't know. And when Walter yells, "Will somebody please listen to me today?" Pent up frustration, Ah, how we all long to be heard. How different we done become towards the end. You just don't understand, Mama. You just don't understand. Just the generational differences there. It's just different, but it's the same, like they're fighting a different fight in the same war, like kind of, so to speak. All right, I think that's enough about that. How do you relate to this personally? I wrote, it just reminds me of my neighbors because they're black, and um they live like in a very rich Hispanic community, and I just feel like sometimes they may feel alienated or something like that. I never really thought about that, but like yeah, like looking at it through their perspective, stepping into their shoes, like it must be a little weird, but they're here, and the best thing I can do is just be friendly to them, and it's just very interesting to think about because black people usually very much live in conglomerates, and they do keep to themselves a bit, but we give exchanges here and there. I just feel like I just wish there could be more, and I think that just goes on a bigger level than that. Like whenever you meet people of different descents, like how estranged we feel sometimes to each other. But it shouldn't really be that way. We should really be open because we really are just all human. Even with like homeless people too, like we alienate them because we alienate usually what we're afraid of and stuff like that. And so I think we should just be more open to that. And I'm learning to be a lot more open with that. So it just takes practice, realization, practice, and application. That's how I relate to it personally. Just makes me appreciate them a lot more and all cultures and minorities and or majorities or whatever you want to call it. Just all people. It just makes me appreciate people and just like not keep to myself so much all the time. And even if you do, that's not a problem. But just when you meet someone like that, just be open. Like, don't think like, oh, like stereotypes. Just be friendly, be open, learn from each other. That's why we're different. That's why we have different cultures and ethnicities and diversities, so we can learn from each other because we really are like one whole thing and just different slices of the pie. Like, but we're all so like important because of that. Okay, what connections are you making in your life, of current events, another work, etc.? I feel like what I just said kind of answers um, the connections I'm making of the text in my life. Current events, what's going on now, obviously. Maybe not so obvious, but obviously. um, yeah, it's bad. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think about it too much because it's just it's a lot to take in. Especially when you're on social media and stuff. Like it's just all over the place. But again, just learning from it and maybe even taking others' perspectives in about the situation is very important as well because you learn different perspectives of people about what's going on now. 1 second. The next question says, what work of art, music, painting, dance, etc. does some aspect of this reading remind you of? Black music, hip hop, rap, Kendrick Lamar, all the black artists, I can list them all, but yeah, we'd be here for a while. That's what it reminds me of, just like that anger fueling art, which is very big. Like, that's why anger is such a good emotion, and you shouldn't neglect it because it's a catalyst emotion. I feel like it gets things going. Like, it can be a little disruptive and chaotic, but it's so necessary for change. And it is, I feel like, what drives change a little bit, like that pent up frustration, like the pent up frustration that Walter feels, like, because nobody listens to him, like it's just pent up, and at some point it's gonna boil off, and it's gonna cause something. It's gonna cause some change, maybe some pain, maybe some, negative or positive. But I think it's what really drives change. Also, the this little the reading I was talking about. I want to say the piece by Baldwin I was talking about, referring to earlier about black men in the war and how they were being discriminated against even back then, while in the freaking war. um, yeah, not good. I can't really think of any other things. I'm not that great with this, but the Harlem Renaissance would be another thing that's pretty big. It just drove that culture and art and just black culture in general, and yeah, just black culture in general. It just really makes me think about like it's not even our culture, but we're so like in it, like we love it, you know, but like we forget sometimes like this comes from black people, and we appreciate and maybe even appropriate their culture, and we don't even talk to them sometimes. Like we don't really, we're still racist, or we're still discriminatory, or we're still neglecting or underappreciative of what they brought to like the table. Like we love their culture. Like why can't we love them too? Like show some love to them. Um, that's big, I think. How did your classmates' video presentation enlighten me? I haven't seen it yet, but I will say that it's just appreciation and learning of our rich diversity, learning to learn from our rich diversity as much as possible instead of tearing each other down or staying quiet, being shy, etc. Which is okay, but like at some point, we just have to just be appreciative and just be nice and try to learn from each other as much as possible, because that's why we're so different, so we can learn from each other. Um, I guess I'll read this. I also wanted to add when I said that we just have to take everything in about what's going on right now and learn from it. I agree with this, but I also think it is a lot about uncovering the hidden things going on systematically in the United States, and that have been happening for a while, a long time now. There is and still are a lot of things to be uncovered, and many things of which are beginning to surface as we're seeing today with what's going on. I think as we begin to uncover more and more things, we will be on the road to recovery. I also think it's important we all learn from each other, as well as raising awareness amongst each other of, how okay it is to to intermingle, to interconnect with others. And I think that's pretty much it. This video is super long. I'm so sorry. I hope you learned something at least, or appreciated this. So thank you for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Take care. Stay hydrated. And let's get it. Let's go get some sunlight. Bye, everybody.